fall, we've got, I've got a map to the burial location of two creatures. We'll decide as the program wears on what it is these creatures are. I'm going to introduce two people to you right now. One is Robert W. Morgan. Robert, are you there?
Listening with both ears.
You are there. Okay. Let's see. The first thing you wanted me to do was to give out your phone number on the air, right?
Yeah, just like I'm going to give out your home. You betcha.
All right. So you're kind of in retreat right now. When you first wrote to me, you said I'm kind of undercover with a pal. So you've been nobody's found you for a while, Robert.
Yes, I'm living somewhere in Montana, and as you know, it's a pretty large state.
I know.
And I'm here on purpose, and it's carrying on some things. We've had some rather significant successes with those audio cassettes that I had mentioned to you at one time.
Right.
And so far, 16 people so far, by following that, have had face-to-face
meetings.
Yes.
Encounters?
Yes.
With Bigfoot?
Yes. And so what I'm trying here is, since I found that I needed an area where I wasn't known and where people would not waste their time playing nonsense, and starting from scratch. And at the same time, of course, I love Montana. I've been in and out of Montana for 20-some years, and it's absolutely fabulous.
All right. So your quest continues, and you've been researching Bigfoot for how long, Robert?
Well, my first sighting was 1957, but I didn't start serious research until about, I think it was 1969.
And you have, did you write a book?
No, I did an audio cassette. The book is incomplete because I haven't finished it yet for obvious reasons.
All right. Well, I may have another chapter for you here.
Good. I'm all ready.
All right, so you'll be doing a lot of listening, although you're welcome to ask a question as the story unfolds.
Thank you.
It was, I don't even know how long ago. Bugs, are you there?
Yes, I am, Art. Good morning.
Good morning, Bugs. Can you... oh, yeah, Bugs
and a dog.
Bugs and a friend. That's your dog, huh?
Yep.
Bugs, you want to tell us what state you're in?
Yeah, I'm in Texas, Art.
Texas. All right. How long ago, Bugs, did you tell me originally the story of what you did?
Gosh, Art, it's been 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years, yeah, I thought it was quite a while. Time flies.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm getting older every day.
Aren't we all? All right, Bugs, I've got a real expert here, as you can hear, Robert W. Morgan.
Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Doing fine. You?
I'm alive and meaner than cat dirt.
Well, I keep telling everybody I'm still breathing, so I guess we're all right.
All right, fine. Bugs, if you would begin at the beginning. And by the way, Bugs, before we even start, why did you send me this map?
Because, Art, my days are limited on this earth, and when I'm gone, my wife's going to call you and say, go for it.
Really?
And you can reveal to the world a map. I have not been back to that place since that day.
All right, let's start then with that day. Go ahead and tell it in as much detail as you want, Bugs.
All right, me and two of my friends, which I'll refer to as Bird Dog and Jim, were coyote bobcat hunters. Back in the middle 70s, those varmints was worth a lot of money.
How much could you get for one?
Well, no bobcat would bring you anywhere from $300 to $700. That pelt.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And coyotes is bringing like $40, $50 a piece. And then we'd go out, and to be honest with you, it was a little more than a hobby. We were real serious about it.
Right.
And we hunted many, many nights all over this country.
Were you making your living that way then?
Yes, I was. I was farming at that time. I'd gotten out of the Marines and came back home, and I was farming, and in that part of the year, this cotton country up here, so we didn't have much to do in January and February except kind of sit around.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we hunted a lot in that period of time because you had to wait until the freeze come for those pelts to cure. For some reason, and I don't know, maybe somebody can explain it to me, But an animal like a coon or coyote or whatever, if you kill them before it comes a hard freeze, when you skin them, their pelts are blue on the inside after they dry out. If you kill them after a hard freeze, they're white.
Huh.
And I have no earthly idea why that is.
Does that sound right to you, Robert?
Yeah, I've seen that multicoloring, but I had no idea the reason. I didn't make that correlation. That's interesting.
Okay.
But, so anyway, it was like in December, January, and February that we hunted a tremendous amount. And then in late February, to get into what they call a rutting season, and the animals would get mange and whatever, and they wasn't worth hunting. So about 2 months, you had prime time hunting. And me and these two guys, we hunted a lot. We were all three from Vietnam veterans, and very close friends. And we had one night we had gone. I don't know how to tell this to keep from giving the location away, but
whatever words you want doesn't matter.
If somebody knows what I'm talking about, they can find out. But anyway, we had hunted, and we back in the flatlands. So then we took this road back up north of where I'm at now, and it swung around. It runs through ranch country. It's probably 25, 30 miles, nothing but ranch land.
So in other words, this location is within, 100 miles of where you are now?
Oh, it's closer than that.
Closer than that, all right.
It's within 30 miles of where I'm at right now.
Okay.
So anyway, we came around and we came across this. We were going to cross this creek. It's more than a creek. But its name is Elm Creek, and we were going to cross that creek. We come around back north and coming down that county road through this ranch land and stuff. And these ranchers loved us because we get rid of the coyotes that were taking their calves. And this had to be probably 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I don't remember the exact time. Mm-hmm. Come around the bend, and then in this bottom there, just before you cross Elm Creek.
So you're hunting with lights then?
Oh yeah, we're using spotlights off the roof of the pickup, using 500-watt halogen bulbs. It would light up anything from within a half a mile. You can see where you're standing, see the ground good.
And anything with eyes lights up real well.
Them eyes. The thing about it is, after you hunted as much as we did, you could tell by looking at a set of eyes what they were. Mm-hmm. If they were a cow, they were wide apart and they were red. If they were a coyote, they were narrow and they were more blue-red. I mean, it just, after a period of time, Art, you knew what, you could look in that scope and you knew what was there.
I'm not a hunter, so I just take your word for it.
Well, it was just that way. I mean, but anyway, we come around this bend and come up over this rise, and there was a wheat field out in front of us, and just before we crossed this creek, and it was a valley down in there, and there's probably, I'd say it's has wheat land right there, and there's probably a quarter mile or so wide from that road to the creek, and it's probably about a mile long. It runs alongside that creek, and it's flat and has that. And we come around this bend and up and over a little hill and dropped into this valley. Well, just as we dropped into this valley, our lights picked up a set of eyes. And I hit the brakes. I was driving, and Bird Dog, he come out on the side. He had a 300 Weatherly Magnum, and he come across the top. I said, "What you got?" And he says, "I don't know. It ain't something I ever seen before." Well, it just sat there. And so I put
when you said a set of eyes, did you mean 2 eyes or 4?
2 eyes.
2 eyes.
2 eyes.
What color were they, Bugs, if you don't mind?
They were furious red. The reddest eyes I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Under those lights. It was something we knew it wasn't a deer because of the eyes, and it was something. My scope on it, and I could see whatever it was crouching. And so Bird Dog, he got out and leaned over the hood of the pickup where he could get him a good shot. And Jim, he come up over the top of the cab, and I don't even remember what kind of, I think he was using the 270. I don't remember for sure. But he lined up over the cab, and I was sitting there, and we just had both these spotlights on this varmint there. And I said, I don't know what it is, and they don't either. And I said, well, it sure ain't nothing we know about it. Let's take it. And all three of us fired at the same time. And all of a sudden, this thing got up, and it must have been 7, 8 foot tall at least. I don't know. Scared the heck out of us. Started running. And, well, we all loaded, and we fired again. We knocked it down again. And then it run, I guess, it was probably 100, maybe 150 yards from the point we fired the first time till it hit the fence and went into that creek. And we knocked it down. It's probably 25, 30 yards from the fence.
It fell into a creek.
No, not at this point. And just as it was crossing the creek, we hit it again.
Now, was it running on 4 legs or 2?
It was running on 2 legs, just like a human being. And I mean, it was...
Right, so it was running on 2 legs. It's something you've never seen before, but you 3 guys cut down on it.
Well, we had done shot, and we did not know what it was. It was hunched over. It really wasn't using its front legs, I mean, its arms, as much as it was. It wasn't standing up straight. We still thought it was, what I thought it was at first, to be honest with you, was a bear.
Yeah.
And that's why we fired.
All right, so you had 3 of you fired initially, right?
And
so
we all fired 3 times.
So
you guys are all non-vets, right?
Right.
And so you've had night combat, I'm sure.
Right.
Okay, so you have something getting up on 2 legs and running away, and you still cut down on it. Okay, all right, I have the picture. Go ahead, please.
Okay. But like I said, I originally thought it was a bear. I had no idea. We had done fired on it at the point in time that it was sitting out there. And once we fired, I don't know, I guess we just got a little bit gung-ho and kept shooting. But anyway, the second time we shot it, went over the fence. Well, we went and looked, and at this point in time, we were all getting scared because we thought, well, maybe this wasn't an animal.
All right.
So, like I say, it was probably 3, 4, 5 in the morning, so we decided to drive around a while. About 5:36, we went back over there, and we drove up there, and we went down, and we seen blood. So we've seen some tracks, looked like a human foot, and to be honest with you, I thought, well, now we done shot a human. Mm-hmm. Now I'm getting scared. So we go on up and start following these tracks, and the creek runs from this point probably 50, 75 yards east, and then it turns back south some. Well, these tracks are going down the creek, and they come out, and they went straight on east from where the creek turned back south. About another 25, 30 yards, there was a plum thicket. And we were walking there, and we heard something in that plum thicket. I mean, it was a growl-type sound. And we kind of looked at each other, and so we decided, well, who goes in and see what it was?
A growl.
Yeah, and again, at this point, we thought, well, it's a bear. We done found a bear up here. So I got elected. I had a .44 Magnum pistol. I climbed into the plum thickets, and I got in, probably 20 feet at the most. And Art, this thing come up at me. I mean, it couldn't have been over, I'd say, 6 or 7 feet from me. I didn't even see it until it was there. And it raised up and let out a sound that is very similar to the one you have on your tape. And when it did...
You're talking about, as he grabs for it, this one, I presume. Anything like that?
Yeah, just the first one, not a repeat, just a
Yeah, that first scream is said to be an authentic Bigfoot sound, Robert.
Yeah, that's what they say. I have never heard them scream like that. I've heard them howl, I've heard them hoot, and I've heard them talk. But I've never...
You've never heard a scream like that?
No. First of all, I've never challenged them, so they don't perceive me as a threat of any sort, so they wouldn't try to...
Understood.
Try to do that.
All right, so anyway, Bugs, it sounded something like that.
It's something similar to just the first part. It didn't go on and on. It's just one shrill.
Right.
And I'm basically on my all fours in a crawl position, and I just brought my 44 up, and I started popping shells. And the first one I hit, the first one hit it, I was just aiming right at the chest at it.
Describe what this thing, since you were seeing it now full on, what did it look like?
Oh.
Best you can.
At that point...
6 feet tall.
Probably, but it was not standing up, Art, at that point. It was more in a hunched, squat-type position.
All right.
I mean, it come up...
Would you describe this as human-looking, as ape-looking? Did it have hair covering it? What can you tell us about it?
It had brownish red hair. It had hair on the face, completely covering the face. Its whole body was covered with hair. At that point, I just fired. It dropped down, started back up. I fired again, and it then kind of rocked and went backwards, and it come back up, and I fired again. I hit it 3 times with a 225 grain 44 Magnum hollow point, probably 6 to 8 feet. And it was down. Well, the other guys were standing guard up on top watching, and they couldn't see nothing. They heard me firing, and they yelled if I was all right, and I said, yeah, I got it. Well, they came crawling in there and where I was at, and they seen it, so we decided we'd drag it out. We got to looking, and all this thing had was 3 holes. And this was a female. You could tell it had breasts similar to a woman. It had a sexual organ and similar to a woman.
Really?
Facial features were different than a human being. Like I say, it was covered completely in hair. So we went back in, and we found the male probably, I'd say, 8-10 foot behind where she was at. He was dead.
He was dead?
Yeah. So we drug him out. We laid him out side by side. The male was probably 6 to 8 inches taller than the female, estimating the male to probably be 8 foot plus, female 7 plus. So we looked at him. We got scared because, in the male, he had sexual organs like a human. We looked at their teeth. They were not human-type teeth. I can't say that they were an ape. I can't say that they were a human. They had the features of a human overall, but the details were not.
All right, once again, I want to cover this. I'm getting a lot of judgmental stuff, saying stuff like, you killed it after you knew it was a bear or thought it was a bear? Or did it ever occur to him that maybe he shouldn't shoot it, or at least he had to run the other way? Or, my God, out shooting animals? A lot of judgmental stuff. But if I were to be judgmental, we wouldn't get the story. What I really want is the truth here. So I'm not going to sit in judgment of Bugs. There are a lot of people responding that way, Bugs, much in that as I am the truth. I want the truth, and if the truth is what you were doing, then that's what you were doing. And so I just want the truth, and you are telling us the truth, right?
That is correct, Art. I wouldn't have sent you out otherwise.
No, I believe you. I believed you the first time, and I believe you now. There are a lot of people who don't like it, but this is a very important story in view of the probable physical evidence that still exists.
Well, you got to remember something. At that point in time, we were making our living basically hunting. Art, there was many a night that I went out and I made $1,000 in a night.
Really?
I mean, there was one night, my biggest night ever. We killed 3 bobcats, 7 coyotes, and 18 coons, and we had $2,400 the next day.
I've got you. So again, I'm not judging you here. Somebody else would like to know. They've got a 5-year-old listening, and they want to know really what these creatures look like. Now, you said not exactly human, not exactly total animal, like something in between. Is there any way you can describe the facial features of these creatures? It should be imprinted on your memory.
Yeah, Art. No, because I've never seen nothing on this earth that looks like them. Their heads, they have a nose similar to a human.
Okay.
Their mouths appear to be more ape. Their eyes are sunken back in their head more than human. I mean, I think if you take a human and cross it with a ape, you could probably come up with a reasonable facsimile of it.
Oh.
You know what I might suggest, Art, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Bugs, after we go off the air, if you would give Art your mailing address, which
Art has my mailing address,
I have it.
He has my phone numbers, he has everything.
Okay, what I'd like to do is...
Robert, let me just interrupt. I've promised him anonymity, and we'll explain why here shortly.
Oh, no. What I meant by what I mean is, what I'd do is send a copy to you, Art, and have you forward it to Bugs. The idea is this. On the cover of that is one of the best artist renderings I've ever seen because I sat with the artist myself.
On the cover of what?
On the cover of the cassette that I have.
Of a cassette? Oh, of your cassette, all right.
Right, and that way, what I'd like to do is get a reaction from Bugs and he can tell that to you. That's number one. Number two, can I ask you something, Bugs? What
Sure.
kind of soil were these two buried in? Was it sandy? Was it dirt?
This part of the country is sandy loam, and it was it wasn't silk sand, but it was a sandy loam in that particular place where we buried them. It was more of a gravel type sand because it was it did have some rock in it because that creek was probably from the point we buried them. The creek kind of went south, about probably 150, 200 yards, and then it turned back east. And over the period of time when we had a lot of high rains in this part of the country, it would wash silt and such in there.
Are you saying that the creek would overflow into this specific area?
Yes.
Oh boy, because that'll cause a different type of decomposition. Did you take a GPS reading?
A what?
Probably not, Robert. I would say not. A GPS.
Oh, no, I don't have one of them animals.
Yeah.
Okay, if we supplied one, would you take the readings and send those to Art?
Well, he's given me an extremely specific map. Oh, okay. Very, very specific.
I mean, that map is detailed down to the foot.
You would know where to dig. Listen.
To be honest with you, this happened 30-plus years ago, and I have not been out there since.
Bugs, when you had these things lying on the ground, what did you guys talk about, and why did you decide to bury them?
We thought they could be human, Art, and we didn't want to go to jail.
But what you just described yeah, I understand. In other words, there were enough
When you're
human...
sitting there and you're looking at the sexual organs of two animals that's got identical to human beings, what do you think?
Robert, with what you know about Bigfoot, Do they have sexual organs? The reports you get, do they have sexual organs similar to humans?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
They do.
So far, everything that Bugs has mentioned is something that I've observed myself. So yes.
Oh.
He's right on the nose.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that fact.
Have you ever seen, Bugs, any of the Bigfoot photos, like the Patterson film? Any of those that exist?
Not, Art.
You haven't?
No.
Would somebody please send me a good Bigfoot photograph right away?
I'm on the computer. I can't look at it.
Well, it's too bad our website isn't up because we have all of them on there.
Oh, you do?
Yes, and unfortunately it's under reconstruction right at the moment.
Okay, well, somebody will send us a photograph. Depend on that. In the next 15 minutes or so, we'll try and get it up for the next hour.
I will give a little more detail as to the location of this to tease the people out there.
All right.
The biggest river in the state of Texas that I guess you might say is the Red River. This Elm Creek is a branch off of the Red River of the state of Texas.
Okay. That's the only sound. Actually, you heard that scream sound, but other than that, you heard a growling. What you would describe as
Art, I don't know whether it was a growling or a rustling or something, but something got our attention in those bushes.
Now, when they moved, you said they moved on 2 feet, or seemed to walk on 2 feet, hunched over or straight up?
It was hunched over. To be honest with you, when it was running, it looked like a bear. When it was running away from us, it looked like a bear, and I'm thinking dollar signs. That's why I fired.
He was probably pretty badly injured by your first fusillade. And what he was doing, I think, is, number one, escaping. Number two, he was going to the protection, hopefully, of his mate. And the mate may have picked him up and carried him to where you caught him.
I don't know that happened. It's possible because there was grass where he came out of that creek and headed east there.
Mm-hmm.
Maurice in Modesto, California asks, if you were hunting for money, why didn't you all decide to bring these creatures back for a hell of a profit? They'd be worth a fortune.
Yeah, and maybe go to jail for the rest of your life, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the fellow in Modesto is overlooking the fact that if these are humanoids, then under the American Constitution, they have civil rights, and Bugs is indeed correct. He could be charged with manslaughter at least.
You know what? By the time we did the original show, by the time we finished the original show, Bugs was actually going to invite me out there, and we were going to dig these bodies up.
Good.
This was years ago.
I said I'd show you, Art. I ain't digging them up. Let me tell you something. I own a farm near this place.
Yes, sir.
And, Art, I won't go out there at night because about, a year or so ago, I was out there late one evening with my dogs. They love to go out and swim in the creek. And I heard that sound, and, Art, I know they still want out there, and to be honest with you, I think they're looking for me.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bugs, we could do something. This is just a proposition here. If you would show Art where it is, and if I could be somehow involved, I would take the heat for you. I think I could get you off the hook on that.
I'm not sure you could take the heat. In fact, Larry in Anchorage asks, is it even feasible to believe these bodies are still there?
It's pretty rough in that kind of sandy loam because if you have a lot of water running through there, they're going to decompose rather rapidly, and this would also the escaping gases would call in coyotes, and those skeletons.
Oh no, we buried them probably. They had to be at least 4 or 5 foot deep, Robert.
Oh really? Oh
no, and let me tell you something. Like our training, we were all Vietnam vets. We know how to cover our tracks. To be honest with you, when we walked away from our...
That would have helped. Because the idea is, since Art, you know my feeling about hunting and using guns on Bigfoot. However, if the deed is done, There's nothing we can do, but we wouldn't want them to die in vain. And if they can prove, Bugs, listen to me, please. If we can prove that they exist by virtue of two skeletons, then in effect you are protecting the rest of them, because I'm very confident they're going to come out as humanoid. So an act on your part at this point in time would indeed help protect the rest of them.
Bugs, what about your two friends? What has their attitude been since?
You know something, we haven't talked in probably, I guess, 10 or 15 years. They both moved away from here. I think they both had kind of the same feeling I did. It was time to pack up and go.
That you might have killed something,
Yeah.
a human or something human.
I mean, it wasn't that it bothered us that we killed humans, because we had done that before. You know, I mean, to take out a person, that was no big deal to us.
But that was in war, and they
That's
were
right.
armed. Right.
That's
That's
right.
a totally different thing.
Totally
you
different
know.
situation what we were in there today.
Yeah,
at that time.
Yeah, you were doing your duty, pal.
I know, I understand that, but then, you know, when we got into this situation, I would have not have shot the female once I saw her, except I feared for my own life.
Sure. Oh, you had right to there.
Bugs.
She would have attacked you.
Bugs, what about smell? Did you smell anything? Did these creatures smell?
Art, I can't remember. I really can't remember that.
Well, if it had been really distinct, I'm sure you would have.
Yeah, it would probably have. I tried to block a lot of this out of my memory, and it's tough trying to draw it back up, because I knew what I had done, I realized what we'd done, and I realized that, you know, there might be consequences. And the only reason I sent you this map and everything is because for 3 years I have never had one phone call. You knew who I was, you knew where I was, you knew my phone number and everything, yet nobody ever got it. So I trust you.
And you can trust me, although I'm not sure I'm happy I have the map. If you dug the hole 4 to 5 feet deep, shot them at 4 in the morning, drove around, shot more, they would have been digging and burying in the daylight, correct?
Right. This was, the sun come up probably, I'd say around 6 o'clock, 6:30. It was daylight. The sun wasn't up, but it was daylight enough for us to see. And when we found them, we're probably talking about the sun was just ready to peek over the top of the hill. We're talking probably 6:30, 6:45, maybe 7 o'clock. And after we found them and drug them out and everything, we're talking probably 8 o'clock. And it don't take very long to dig when you're scared. And probably within an hour, we had dug the hole and put them back in it, and we'd left.
Did you bury them in one hole or separate holes?
One
One hole.
on top of each other.
Yeah, that would make sense. After this was over and they were buried, did the three of you talk?
Yeah.
And would you
We
talk?
swore ourselves to secrecy, Art.
You swore each other to secrecy.
Yeah. Never reveal it to anybody.
Except for years later, many years later, you went on the radio with me and you told this story.
Well,
And now you're telling it
when
again.
you get to be old, I guess you start thinking about some things you did in your life that you might need to make some corrections about.
That you weren't that happy about, huh?
No, that was one of the few things that I did in my life that I'm still scared about today, Art.
You feel guilty about it?
Oh, yeah. Tremendous amount of guilt. Because I don't know, I might have took an innocent human being's life.
You know, maybe for a hunter it's not the same way, Bugs, but when you look into a human's eye, you can see an intelligence. I mean, you know you're dealing with an intelligent creature. And I don't know if you had enough eye contact before, or it all happened too fast in all probability, but I wonder if you had a chance to look into their eyes and whether you discerned anything from that, whether you were dealing with an intelligence or something that was about to kill you.
No, Art, I to be honest with you, it was just a quick, knee-jerk reaction, and it was, It was fire because I knew that I was in danger, and I knew she was fixing to come after me. And I knew it was a matter of a millisecond. I either had to fire or I was gone, and I didn't hesitate.
Yeah, obviously, with the other one dead, I would think that that creature would have killed you pretty quick, if it could have.
Yes, it would.
Oh, Art, it could have. Believe you me, as big as this thing was. Art, I'm 6'1".
There's a lot of Bugs. There's a lot of people that think that Bigfoot is some sort of paranormal creature, but it sounds to me like the creatures were real dead. Like animals and mammals and humans who get shot are dead.
Yep.
Nothing paranormal about that.
No, this was an animal.
They never disappeared on you.
Nope.
Or
nope.
Nothing ever strange.
Nope.
What about blood?
Red blood, just like ours.
A lot of it?
Quite a bit. Especially hers. I mean, his. He had a big pool where he was hit, and near the heart area, I would assume. I imagine the pool of blood, I'm trying to remember now, but I would say it was probably where he was laying, and he bled probably 1.5 foot circle diameter.
So everybody swore everybody else to secrecy forever on this matter. Robert, if it happened that long ago, and assuming that the remains have not been washed away, what might we expect to find, if anything?
Well, you could find probably quite a bit of the skeleton. You could, most importantly for us, I think it would be finding the teeth, because within the teeth, no matter even after many years, you can find viable DNA.
DNA?
Yes.
All right, well, I've heard that they found hair recently, and they do a DNA test on it, and it comes back as hominoid of some sort, unidentifiable. So what do we get from that? In other words, if you have a hair sample and they say, well, yes, it was some sort of mammal or hominoid in some way, but it's not identifiable, and that's the end of the story.
Right, that happened to us. We had that in 1974, and we had that also in 1972. Hair tells you quite a bit about the DNA, but it still will not convince science.
All right, we're only going to have Bugs here for a little while longer, so on top of him seeing the photographs, I want to ask him a few more questions with Robert before we lose him. I know you had a really hard day today, didn't you, Bugs?
Oh, yeah. I've got a couple of questions I need to ask Robert.
All right.
Robert, can these creatures know who I am and what I did?
Yes. Yes.
The reason why I say that is because, like I said, it's been 6 months. It was last summer. I was at my farm late one evening, and it just got dark. And I have a creek that runs into this creek that I'm talking about. And I heard it was not a coat type howl.
Mm-hmm.
And it just made the hair on my back of my neck stand up, and I just felt in my heart that this had to be one of these creatures.
Was it the same kind of howl, or roughly the same?
As what?
As what you heard originally?
No. This was not similar to what you have on tape.
No. To what you heard originally.
Well, I don't know, Art.
That's right.
I don't know. I just can't. I can't place.
How many statute miles are you from the site?
Well, that creek's approximately 6 miles.
About 6 miles away from where you are.
Downstream.
Downstream.
It flows down into this place.
And had you hunted that area before?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so the identification, they could have identified you, And believe me, 6 miles is a Sunday stroll for these people. So more than likely, they have identified you. Yes, you're probably right.
I would
be
danger?
very careful.
Am I in any danger?
It's been how many years?
This is 1976.
Right, 76. It's possible, but probably I would say that, I'm going to sound very, very weird here for a second. If you would go out on the edge of that and hold your hands open to your side, where they can see you have no weapon whatsoever, and now this is going to sound strange to you, talk to them. Just talk. Whenever you have a feeling they're out there, go out and just let yourself go. Tell them what you think and what you made a mistake. It doesn't hurt anyone. It could help you, and God only knows they might understand. I don't know.
Well,
I certainly would try it.
I don't even own a weapon anymore. After this happened, I quit hunting. Like I say, I couldn't even pull a trigger now, even probably to defend myself.
Bugs, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Chris in Medford, Oregon asks, I was wondering how heavy these creatures were, and he thinks you can judge this because you all had to lift them to bury them, right?
Right. I'm going to say they probably weighed 350 pounds plus in that area.
Oh, my.
It was all we could do to move them.
That's a lot of body mass.
Oh, tell me about it. Dead body is the heaviest thing on earth.
Somebody else says, and maybe this isn't true, or maybe it certainly is, the only thing missing is the grief that he hides. Bet he has nightmares of killing the female.
Yeah, I did for a long time, Art. Did for a long time. I have woke up at night, again in that position, firing my weapon. I mean, I went through some hairy things in Vietnam. I was with the 1st Marine Recon in Vietnam.
Good Lord.
I did a lot of LARPs, 21 days, 12 days. I know what it's all about. That don't bother me. This thing with her bothers me worst of all of them because that's the closest I've ever come to death.
Yeah, I hear you. You described the fact that the imprint of the feet seemed like a human footprint.
Yeah.
Was it bigger than a usual human footprint? But judging by the weight, I would think it would be.
Oh, yes. I would say, isn't it Michael Jordan that has to have size 18 shoes, or what basketball player? I would say it's probably in that size. There is one thing that I've never revealed to anybody about the foot of this animal.
What?
And that's why I'm very reluctant. A lot of these people talk about Bigfoot and stuff, but there is something about their feet that is different than anybody else. Robert should know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think I do.
Well, let's not have Robert say, you say.
Yeah.
What?
6 toes.
Oh.
What?
6 toes.
6 toes. On both of the creatures, both feet?
Both of the creatures.
That's an anomaly, I think. I think that's an anomaly. But I'm going to take a wild guess here. You must be within 100 miles of the Arkansas border.
No.
And the reason I say, in that case, there was a family in Arkansas, Bigfoot, that did have a 6-toed genetic code.
Okay.
And they may have spread into eastern Texas. That is possible, but that is not the norm.
All right.
Okay. I am in the Texas Panhandle, and this, like I say, this creek.
Don't say anymore, Bugs. Don't say anymore.
Yeah, don't say more.
Texas Panhandle, it's close enough.
And everything, Red River runs from Arkansas up to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
It's the border of Texas, Oklahoma. So I'm assuming that these animals come from that direction. Where they were going, I have no idea.
Bugs, you said that in the light, the eyes were red. What about
spotlights? Yes.
Yeah. What about when they were dead? Did you get to see
black?
Black.
I couldn't see any pupils or anything like that, and just black eyes, a little larger than human eyes.
Okay.
Bugs, I'm very sorry. I'm not a hunter myself. I used to hunt years and years ago, but I came through the same transition that you did. I don't want to see anything die anymore. I have no time for it. But at the same time, I must say, honestly, I'm so pleased that you contacted Art Bell.
Bugs, if you said you had a computer there.
Yes.
Go right now to your. Is it really?
I have your website up.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
Under What's New, you'll see the first item now, instead of Cloud Vortex, is Bigfoot images. Click on that.
No, all I've got. Let me refresh.
Refresh. And then go to What's New, and you'll see Bigfoot images.
Okay.
You see them?
They're coming up.
Okay. There's 4 of them there right now. My listener is doing me a favor in getting these images up quickly. Some are drawings.
I think everybody else hit the website at the same time as me.
2 of them are, looks like at least 1 is a photograph, 2 may be photographs, and 2 are drawings.
This first one coming up, the hair's the wrong color.
Okay. But what about the general... was it closer to a human than that?
Oh yeah, this looks like an ape here.
Yeah.
This first picture, of course, like I say, it's loading up slow. All I see now is the eyes. But the eyes are sunken in, but the above the eyes, I guess you call the eyebrow area, it was flatter than that.
Okay.
The nose was totally different. The nose was more human.
Okay.
The mouth is very, very similar.
Okay. What about you, Robert? Do you have internet access where you are?
No, I'm on the line that I usually use. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a copy of the drawing down to you, Art, and you can forward it to Bud.
I can do that. Just give it a few minutes, Bugs, and the rest of these will load.
Okay, your third picture, Lart, looks just about like it.
Oh, really? The third one down?
Yeah.
All right.
Very, very close.
This appears to be an actual photograph. To be honest with you, it's a photograph, and it may be a photograph taken from the Patterson film. I'm not sure.
The third one doesn't look like, but that second one, I mean, it's almost a dead ringer.
Oh, you're saying
the third one.
The third.
I mean, the fourth picture does not look like it, but the third picture is almost a dead ringer.
Number 3 is an oval.
Yeah.
And you say that's almost a dead ringer for it?
Yeah, almost identical.
Boy, I wish you had internet access, Robert.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm talking on the line.
I'll tell you what, Robert. Mm-hmm. Why don't I do this? Why don't I, if I were to drop you off the line for a few minutes?
Okay.
Could you get to my internet site?
I can certainly try.
Okay. Remember now, you'll be able to get on, no problem. www.artbell.com.
Right.
It'll be under What's New, which is the first item on the left when you load the website. It'll say. You see here, it will say Bigfoot images, and because we've got a hit here, because he says it's like number 3.
Okay.
If you would go down and take a look at number 3, I will call you back in about 8 minutes.
Okay, I'll get on it right now.
All right. Let me see if I can do this properly. Okay, let's see. And I think that I've done it. Let me see if I can bring back Bugs. Bugs, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. All right, Bugs. So number 3 is pretty close, huh? That's
very, very close, Art. The only thing about number 3 that I can see the difference between it and what my recollection is the eyebrow area was a little less protruding.
Otherwise, the head.
The head,
the mouth
is identical. The nose is identical.
Wow. And
what picture is this? An actual picture?
I believe, and I'm not certain, but I believe. All right. This was sent in just by a listener. But it doesn't matter. Obviously, I would say it's a real photograph that we're looking at, and. Judging from this, now was there any other than the sex organs? Was there any discernible difference between the male and the female?
That was it, Art. The male was a little taller, like I say, probably 6, 8 inches taller, and probably weighed, I'd say 30 pounds more, maybe 40-something in that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
They were both extremely muscular. They didn't appear to have any, what I would call human-type fat on them. In their abdomen area, the mid-age bulls, or whatever you want to call it, they appeared to be just very, very muscular type people. I wanted to say people, but animals. I still kind of feel like they're people, Art.
Really?
Yep.
You, in sending me the map, Bugs, you said that you're not going to be around forever. Well, I'm not going to be around forever either. And I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what's right to do with it. I don't know if it would result in both of us getting in trouble. Even today, I'm not sure. Maybe...
Well, if you feel that you don't need to have it, then burn it. I have a copy. My wife has a copy. She has the original and everything what we faxed to you.
And what did you tell her about this? When you gave her her copy of the map, what did you tell her?
She was in shock and awe when I first revealed this because she knew nothing about it, and we'd been married for years. She knew nothing about it until the night I talked to you on the radio.
Oh. Then y'all must have had a pretty big talk about it afterwards, huh?
Oh, yeah. She wanted to go see the place, and I said, we ain't going over there. There is no way I will go back to where that area is.
Why?
I don't know, Art. There's something scares me about it.
Did you end up with any of the creature's blood on your clothing, shoes, whatever?
Not that I'm aware of, Art.
Because blood, too, has DNA in it.
I know. It's possible in moving them and everything that we did, but it wasn't something we noticed. And my wife wouldn't have said anything because, you know, we handled coyotes and bobcats and stuff like that. We got blood on.
Okay, Mike.
On them out.
Yeah, I hear you. Mike in San Angelo, Texas, down there in Texas, where he asks, the hands, the feet, would you describe them as leathery? Were the nails thick? Were the ears big? Was anything weird about the teeth? Did you think you were looking at a meat eater or a vegetarian? Any guesses?
I would say, just offhand, probably a vegetarian. But then again, Art, I don't know. You know,
sure.
We're talking about a total time of me looking at these animals and burying them.
About how long?
Time, an hour and a half, 2 hours.
As you guys tried to figure out what to do, huh?
Oh, yeah. Well, we knew what to do. We went and got the shovels and started digging.
Yeah. What about the hands and feet? He's asking, were they leathery feeling? Can you remember any texture? Can you remember anything about it?
All right, I can't remember other than their hands. I don't know how to describe them. It would be like somebody that had a pair of cowhide gloves on with hair around them, and then in their palm area, just skin type showing. Kind of, I guess you would say a leathery type hands. And their feet, bottom of their feet was the same way. The only thing, like I say, the hands and the bottom of their feet were probably the only thing it wasn't covered with hair. And their face it wasn't completely covered with hair, but then again...
pretty close to how much hair there was there in number 3?
Yeah, very similar, very similar.
Since that's happened, since you've been on my show, the original time you appeared on my program, have you told anybody else about this?
Yeah, there's one other person in this world knows about it because he had an encounter here a while back with one. He decided he was going to follow his uncle and be a great white hunter. Till one night he come across one about, I guess it's been a month and a half, 2 months ago, about, I'd say 40 miles from where this happened. And he come home telling me about it. About 3 days later, he was scared. And then I told him.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, that's exactly what I saw. And I said, well, why didn't you shoot it? He said, man, I didn't know what it was. I said, I got the hell out of there, pardon my French.
Yeah, I imagine when you think back on your encounter, you probably wish you'd done that too. But by the time you'd shot the thing initially, so many shots, I guess you pursue it. You don't leave an animal out to die.
No, you're right. If it's wounded, you want to put it out of its misery. And again, Art, we thought it was a bear. Just to be perfectly honest with you, I mean...
Yeah, even up until the moment that you shot the final creature dead, you still really thought it was a bear, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I thought it was a wounded bear in the bushes, and that's what we were laughing about. Who's going into the thickets to get the bear?
How'd you get elected?
I was the only one. I had the most high-powered pistol. Bird Dog, he had a .357, and Jim, he had a .22, and I had a .44 Magnum Ruger. And so they said, "Well, you got the big gun. You go in." Mm-hmm. I said, "Well, I want it to go."
By the way, I can hear something creaking, and I imagine that's your easy chair you're rocking back in, if I had to guess.
Right, it is.
All right, Bugs, hold on. All right, Robert W. Morgan back, and Bugs, and we're not going to have Bugs for much longer, so just a couple more questions, Bugs, and any Robert might have. You've given me a very detailed map, but Todd in Lakeside wants to know, could you actually walk to the spot where you buried them, no problem?
Yeah, I believe I could.
But you wouldn't?
No, I don't want to go back out there, Art.
Not even with myself and or Robert Morgan?
I'll get you close, but I ain't going back out there.
All right. Two questions from Ian in Charleston, South Carolina. How many times did you have to shoot the creature? A question I think you already answered. And
I think we fired 3 times at the first one, and I know I fired 3 times at the female.
Did it emit any kind of sound while the other one was shot? Was there any reaction? Or was it too hard to see?
We did not see the female until...
Oh, that's right.
I went into the thicket.
Okay. I'm told that you should one more time refresh your computer screen because there are now a total of 6 images up there. Too bad for you, Robert. Anyway, listen, Robert, you got to see the third one down, which he says is pretty doggone close to what he saw.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's nothing wrong with that.
You think that one's fairly representative of what a Bigfoot would look like?
Yes. It very much. It's very, very close. Very close.
All right, Robert. Do you have anything?
If you would take the hair on number 4 and darken it a bit,
that'd be close.
Put it on. That would be the color of the hair. It's a little too red. It's more brown than it is than that red.
All right.
I'll give you a little hint on that. The younger ones have the reddish hair. The older they get, the darker they get. And then when they get into old age, of course, they become grizzled, just like us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neither of these two.
So what?
The 5th picture, it's hard to tell. I can't see facial features or anything.
Mm-hmm.
The 6th picture doesn't even look like nothing like what I saw.
So it's number 3 all the way.
Yeah, it's got number 3. Number 3 is almost identical.
All right, good.
Bugs, I'm going to send you one by way of art that I think you're going to say, "Oh my God, that's him."
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Robert. Last chance. Any other questions for Bugs?
No other questions except that I will provide through you, Art, and if anything I can do to assist either of you or both of you, be more than happy to. I'm sorry that it happened.
He's obviously not going back there.
Well, I believe me, Bugs. It's hard to say, but if I went along, I think you'd be fairly safe.
I wonder, or you were to go there.
Yes.
What our liability would be?
None. There would be no problem whatsoever.
But the problem is, everybody in this part of the world knows who I am.
Well, we needn't divulge where we got them. Simple as that.
Have you, I guess you've thought over the years you'd face maybe jail time for this, huh?
Right.
I doubt you certainly would never.
Problems.
You would never be convicted of first-degree anything because there wasn't. But
yeah, but I'm 56 years old, Art, now.
we're the same, almost same age. I'll be 56 June 17th. So
Yes, but you know, what you did, though, was you did not know it was a Bigfoot. You did not fire on it as a Bigfoot. I don't see, if you had known what it was and you fired, that's one thing. The first one that you fired on was at such a distance, and it was an irrational, or not an irrational, irresponsible act, but it's done. What's done is done. Secondly, you did the other one in self-defense, and I doubt that anyone is going to blame you for that. I'm sorry that it happened simultaneously, but I think the furtherance for science and also the furtherance for the protection of the children of these two adults that are dead, they could benefit by the protection that this discovery could give them. Because if they are humanoid, we can do a hell of a lot more than what we're doing right now. They're in imminent danger, despite the laws that I've been able to initiate. It does happen, and education and intelligence, intelligent application of law is what we need.
Well, Robert, I have one question I would like to ask you. You mentioned Arkansas, that there was creatures down in there. Is it possible, because this happened, I would say, somewhere around the middle of February.
Right.
Is it possible that these animals, or whatever they are, migrate from that area to Colorado?
Oh, bugs, they're all over. They're here in Montana. They're in Florida. They're in Ohio. They're in Pennsylvania. They're in New York State, upstate New York. They're in Washington, Oregon. The only place I've never had a real report is in Pahrump, Nevada.
Say what? Say what?
but in any case, they're all over the place, and they do move quite a bit. They do have, unfortunately, predictable to some degree movement patterns. But this is by virtue of weather and food availability. But they do have they move quite a bit, and what you have there are probably offshoots from the Ouachita Mountains, and in that area, and also I must say in New Mexico, in the highlands of New Mexico, you also have them there, and in the Mogollon rim of Arizona, they're there also.
Well, see, that's what I was wondering, because if you take a map and you follow the Red River, it would lead from Arkansas to nearly to New Mexico.
Uh-huh.
And I was just wondering if this was possibility that this was a route that these animals travel, and they go south in the winter and go north in the summer.
Well, they have their own routes, but they don't necessarily have to go by virtue of the weather. They're perfectly adapted. Unlike you and I, they don't have to worry about the weather. When they're cold, in fact, the colder it gets, I think, in a lot of ways, the better off they are. The ones that I've encountered in Florida are much smaller and thinner and scrawnier, not anywhere near as healthy as the ones that I've seen up in the northern states.
That's a good question. Did these animals appear to you, other than being dead, to be healthy specimens?
Oh, yes, very healthy. They were very muscular.
Sure.
I would say they were younger animals than older ones, because they just appeared that they were younger. I hate to make this I don't know the word I'm looking for, but the equation to this to what I would say in a human factor, and this is the one thing that scared us. And I don't want anybody to take this wrong, but you have seen mentally retarded people, their facial features and everything. That's what we thought we had done shot, was some mentally retarded people that was living in the wild.
Yeah.
Very brutal facial features that are almost Neanderthalic, and a little bit more so, I think. Gee, I wish I could reach out and help you somehow. I really do.
Now, let me be very straight on a few things here. Number one, Bugs, you don't want your identity revealed, right?
No.
Okay. Number two, you don't want to go back to the spot yourself.
No, I'll take you within, I can take you up on a hill and show you where it's at. Within probably, I would say, maximum of a quarter to half a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something inside of me that just will not let me go back to that spot.
Yeah, I don't think I blame you. And that's where you gave up hunting, too.
Right.
All right. Listen, Bugs, thank you, my friend, for coming back on here tonight.
Well, you're welcome, Art, and I appreciate it. And
so I will honor your wishes.
I would like to explain one reason why I'm doing this.
Yeah, sure.
It is because of you and what you have done for all the people in this United States. You are the one person that brings forth the stuff that everybody else laughs at.
Mm.
And someday, when I'm gone, you'll get to laugh at them because you'll have the proof.
Thank you, Bugs.
All right. Good night, Art. Good night, Robert.
Good night, Bugs. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. There we go, Robert.
Yeah.
All right, so then we're left with, I'm really left with a burden in a way because he doesn't want to go back. He'll get us close. He doesn't want to be identified, and damn it, he left me a map.
Yeah, well, I can't blame him with that, but, his reactions and everything else shows a lot of humanity was brought out in this guy, and he realizes what he's done. And he's really, really sorry for it. And
I believe he's exactly who he sounds like he is.
Yeah, I
Simple
agree
as
with
that.
you.
Simple as that. I've thought it all these years, and I think it even more so now.
But Gotti, if we could get out there and get these bones before they're totally dissolved and the rodentia gets to them and everything like that.
Well, if you had them that deep, maybe.
Yeah, it's possible. And if we could just do it and get it on film and everything like that, I think that what has happened is, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy on all sides, all the way around. But it sounds like we have an honest guy. He knew what the hell he was doing.
Yeah, that's what I think, too.
And I hate to see him suffering like this because he is. He's obviously carrying a lot of guilt. Mm-hmm. And it's. I wish we could reach out and help him in some way.
Well, you start changing, as you get older, and you start. How old are you now?
66.
Oh, you're 66. Well, then you know better than we do.
Hell, I'm meaner than Kent Durst. I bicycle, I run, I fight. You name it, I do it all. Age, in a lot of ways, I think, is a mindset. I've been blessed, or whatever you want to call it, with absolute perfect health. And I'm as strong as I am now as I was when I was 30,
sure,
35.
But everybody does begin reflecting, though, as they get older.
Oh, absolutely. Well, this is where wisdom comes, And it's too bad it comes so late. And this man, obviously, going through Vietnam, that was a very, very tough place to be.
Yes, it was.
And the one thing that I wish I could have asked him, and it just is the color of his eyes. He said was red when he got him in the light.
With the light on him, yeah.
Yeah. My question was going to be, what were the lights of Charlie, the Viet Cong, at night? Because that should have given him a clue right there. But, these guys were hunting. They had reverted way back to the early days of America, and that's how a lot of guys made a living. And that's what they did. But
yeah, early on, when he was telling the story early on, I have a computer board I watch here with Fast Blast, and they were coming in. They were very judgmental.
Oh, yeah, sure.
As you can imagine. But, I mean, look, you could sit here and pour judgmentally over what he did, and it's not going to change anything. No. I wanted to get the story as it was laid out, and that's how he gave it to us. Right, wrong, or whatever. It happened.
He showed so much courage, much more than the average person, to come forward and to tell you about this, and then provide you with the wherewithal to reveal this. And, that if these are humanoid, that he would have to stand the charges. But the charges, as I say, I doubt seriously if anything would happen under the circumstances.
Well, yeah, but look at his thinking. He's 56 years old now. That's my age. A second degree, or even a manslaughter charge, which would be the easiest thing I could think of, manslaughter.
Right.
That'd put you away for some years. Some years.
Again, you have to look at intent. You know, there are hunting accidents all the time. And these things do happen. This man was a legitimate hunter. He made an accidental differentiation. He made a bad judgment call, no question. However, he's coming forward and saying, look, in the interest of science, I could have just left it out there. I doubt that a grand jury would return anything.
You know, you're probably correct. You're probably correct, but it would be a long procedure. It would be something to endeavor to do, I'll tell you. And right now, if I could just hand the map to you, believe me, I would do that. Are you listening, Bugs? if I could give the map to you, Robert, then what would you do?
I would go down and verify that they exist, and I would get the proper scientists behind me to make sure that we have a cross-index, that nobody jumps any guns, and we know exactly what the hell we're doing. And we'd make a verification as to whether they are humanoid, and from that point, we would have to take it from there.
Right.
I just can't. It's going to be such a monumental
undertaking,
and it's a discovery for science worldwide. It's going to rewrite history books, and this man is making a valiant confession that okay, I did something wrong, but let me see if I can cleanse my conscience and do something. These people that are buried out there are dead for no reason at this point. But at least they would have died for a reason. And I think there's just, what we could do is take this to a judge in advance.
You know what he's going to say?
And ask for immunity.
I'll bet you, I bet we're not going to get it. In other words, the judge would say, look, what if this is just I'm putting myself in the judge's shoes, all right? I'm not about to give immunity to somebody who may have killed 2 human beings and buried them and cooked up a story about Bigfoot to avoid a prosecution. I'm not going to give immunity based on that possibility. And how do you get around that one?
Well, if they turned out to be 6 foot tall human beings, hell, you'd be right. But what we're saying is under the parameters that they would fit the description of Bigfoot, etc. If we actually drew the parameters, and the judge would say, "All right, now look, if they're found under these parameters, then there would be no prosecution." I don't know. On one hand, the guy can just keep his mouth shut and to hell with it, and nobody knows anything. He's offering. He has already done that, although he wants to wait until after he passes away. But he's a young man. You guys are chickens. You know,
yeah.
What are you guys talking about? Getting old? This nonsense.
Well, I mean, one never knows. 40-year-olds drop dead all the time.
That's true.
Robert, not everybody is Robert W. Morgan. Some people realize mortality sooner than later, and it does happen. So,
yeah.
You know, day to day, we don't know. None of us know. All right. Well, look.
I would
already
jump on
this
in a
is,
heartbeat.
I know you would. And if I could let you, believe me, Robert, I would. We'll see what Bugs decides to do. If he wants you to have the information, then Bugs, let me know. Otherwise, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. Let's leave it there for a second. A little more on Bigfoot. You said part of our, a step in our evolution is what you believe.
Yes.
So then, ultimately, how do you think a court would rule if we began to have all the solid evidence we need that there really are these creatures and that there's somewhere in between an ape and a man? Maybe not with the... he used an interesting phrase, with apologies, retarded, he said.
Yeah.
And so then, if these creatures are what you say they are, Robert, aren't they ultimately going to have the same civil rights and protections under the law? Hell, as rare as they are, probably more protections under the law.
Absolutely.
Than the rest of us.
A retarded person can vote.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, we've seen that in previous elections.
No, but I'm talking about Bill of Rights,
Yes.
the whole smear,
Yep.
and probably added protections beyond that, because they're obviously fairly rare, right?
Well, in comparison to the human being, yes, they're very, very rare. Absolutely. But you know, all of our history books, all of our anthropology books, our psychology, everything is going to have to make a shift because so much is involved here. The stuff, the mythology that we have built around ourselves, you know, that we're kings of the universe, you know, and all this other stuff. It's going to take it's going to be a major earthquake, and there's going to be a lot of scrambling to explain. But these people, yes, under our Constitution, they have a helix. I think you and I have gone through this before, but for your new listeners, they have a helix, which is the big toe. This is only in humans. They have the buttocks that we sit on. That is not Pongidae. That is not apes. That's human. They have an articulated speech that you and I have heard the recordings come back, in which they actually repeat English words. Even though they have their own language, they come back using English words in a proper way.
That's right.
When they responded, "You're not welcome," in that particular phrase, they were imitating what other people had said to them. That was cognitive. So here we have cognitive thought. We have the opposing thumb. Now we have the hyoid bone. They habitually walk erect. I mean, what the hell more do you have to have? Of course, humans have an interesting thing. Every time an ape or something gets close to them, they come up with a new oh yes, but we do this, you know. The gorillas are not worth a damn. They don't have cognitive thought. I think that's nonsense. Coco has proven this many times over. So we're in a bit of a dilemma here, and I think of all things, and I have to agree with him, and I know you don't like to have your popo patted, but the fact is I think he gave this information to the right man.
Well, thanks.
Now it's your problem.
Yeah, now it's my problem. As I said a little bit earlier, to me, this is a terrible problem. I might end up burning that map. I might end up burning it.
I hope not. I hope not. But at the same time, I think it would be well understood if you had. I'm going to make sure that I send to you, if you'll forward it to Bug, a copy of that cassette of mine, because I want him to listen to it and follow the directions so that perhaps, Bugs, and I know you're listening, I can teach you a way of going out and communicating with these people passively. And something might happen for you, not to you, for you. And that's what that tape was created for. So I'll send it down to Art, and I'm sure he'll send it on to you.
Even in view of what Bugs did, you think forgiveness would be in their repertoire? That if he were to get out and near one of these creatures, as I know you have done, and you know how to do, that he'd come out of it alive?
Yes, and I'll tell you why.
With a new friend.
If they wanted him, they would have walked over at night and come through the house and gotten him. If he's that close to the river, and if he sounds like he's on a farm.
Have you ever seen them exhibit that kind of behavior?
You mean forgiving?
Well, that's a good place to go. Forgiving would be good, but more to the point, you said that if they wanted him, they would have gone to his house, and they'd have had him a long time ago, right?
Yes, I think that they have a long memory. I think that, I'll give you an example. In Skamania County, Washington, there was a fellow by the name of Sheriff Bill Clausen, and I got to know Bill a little bit, and there had been an elk hunter killed in Skamania County, not too far from a town called Cougar. And the fellow had killed an elk and gone over and fired 3 more shells that were not in that elk. And he was killed. He was dead, terribly. Huh. And a Marine happened to be in that area, of all things, a Marine. And he had seen something go through the woods, and it turned out that the likely scenario was that this fellow had shot the elk. He had tracked the elk for about 2 miles. He came up on it, and apparently a Bigfoot was there. He opened fire on the Bigfoot. The Bigfoot took the gun and wrapped it around the dang tree, or bent it. Well, Clausen was caught. I believe Bill passed away now, so it's okay to talk about it. But Clausen, apparently, his organization was caught in a dilemma. What are they going to say? He was killed by a Bigfoot? No, they said that he had fired his gun and that the elk had killed him.
Huh.
So what did they do? Another instance, not too far from there was a logger that had been chased, and after he had fired on a Bigfoot, and he had chased, and they hit him with a rock. It killed him after he had fired on a Bigfoot, and yet the other people went into that area and they had zero problems.
Okay, so you have seen or know of behavior like that?
Oh yes, and at the same time, I went into those identical areas with the same Bigfoot families.
Yes.
And they left me gifts. So what does it tell you? They realized I'm different. I'm
not sure what it tells me. It might tell me a lot of things. It might tell me they're telepathic. It might suggest to me they're telepathic.
It very easily could be.
Or just empathic. In other words, they understand the intentions as a creature does intuitively. They understand your intentions. You know, I can, believe me, depending on how I approach my cats, they'll either take off running, or they'll purr and throw themselves on their backs and their bellies in the air so they can be scratched, right, and rubbed. And that's what they love. But if you come to them the wrong way, they can tell. They can tell as you're coming up on them. Stalk a cat and see what it does.
Oh, yes. Well, the funny thing is, you see, this is why I never, I ask people never, ever take a gun, or believe it or not, a camera. Don't take it with you.
No camera?
No. And here's the reason why. What do you do with a camera?
You take a picture.
That's right, but what do you do with it physically? You raise it to your face.
And shoot, yes.
Yeah, and shoot.
Oh.
Get it?
Yep.
Yeah, how in the hell do they know what you're raising? That's a mechanical device, and you raise it up toward your face and you point it at them.
Good
just
point.
like a gun.
Yeah.
That's why most people don't get pictures. It takes a very rare instance to get a picture.
Are you a believer in the Patterson film? You think that was a real thing?
Oh, if you'll recall, I showed you the other two Bigfoot in that film.
Oh, yes. I know.
Right?
I remember. Yes, of course.
So
now I'm asking you for the new audience here.
Oh, I see. I'm so sorry. What happened in that film? And, you know, they came up with this nonsense that, the suit had been made by a Hollywood guy. Let me tell you something. If he had made a suit that well, with muscles moving at it, he would have sold that suit, because Hollywood had nothing anywhere near like that, number one. Number two, if he was playing a joke on Patterson, how did he know Gimlin wasn't going to shoot him?
Yeah.
Three, did Patterson do it? Hell no. He didn't have enough money for that sort of thing. He had enough trouble feeding his family. So number four, we discovered that because there was something wrong with the way that female acted. She walked away in the middle. She didn't run for the forest. That bothered me. And as I told you, my adopted father, Nino Cochise, finally kept pointing at and telling me, hey, dummy, you're looking in the wrong area. So we, one night when I was working on the eclipse and looking through it, I accidentally went off of color, and I was looking at black and white, and I scanned backwards, and I found the young baby.
That's right.
One.
Very clear, by the way.
And he's sitting down just like a little kid, and he's got his hand up around the thing, and she's walking away from her baby, and then we look ahead of her, and here is this male leaning out, watching. Now, hell, what is she doing? She's saying, okay, two white guys, follow me, and I'm going to take you to Big Daddy.
All right, back to Robert W. Morgan. We're going to get you on the line with him here in a second. Shannon in Orange County could you possibly ask Robert to email you the complete description or illustration of the location of the child Bigfoot and male Bigfoot in the Patterson film, and would you post that? Your website isn't up right now, is it?
No, it's not, but I can give you an email address. It's RWM, the numeric 4.
Right.
Big Sky.
At Big Sky?
Big Sky at AOL.com. RWM, numeric 4, Big Sky at AOL.
At AOL.
And that Big Sky, that's Montana.
Gotcha. Okay. When do you anticipate you might ever get your website up again?
I'm working on it with Scott Zalesko at Artist First Group. Those are the folks that are handling my cassette, and they're working with Steve, and we expect probably within the next week or so we should have our website
Let me
back.
give you a good plug for your cassette, too. What's on there?
Oh, the cassette, this is the first half of it on the audio cassette is an actual experience that had taken place in Ohio, and I'm talking about this is recorded by Scott Church. This is a full theater-type thing. Otherwise, you actually experience what we experienced. The second half of the cassette, the other half, will tell you step by step what you can do, so you can do what I do, if you follow it exactly the way I asked.
Which has come face-to-face with the Bigfoot.
That's right. If you handle it correctly. Now, we've had 16 people so far, and good God, we've sold over 5,000 of these cassettes. But it's very difficult. It's not an easy thing. You don't just go out and stroll for 5 seconds.
But you're saying you've had 16 people that have done it.
Yes, they have come forward, and they have told me. Now, I have asked each one of them, and so far they've all declined to have themselves their name revealed.
Now, see, there you are. Now, you're talking about people declining just a witness report, right?
Right.
Attaching their name to it.
Exactly.
So understand what the situation is with bugs. People can say, it's no big deal.
Sure, I have hundreds of them like that.
Wrong. It's a big deal.
But if they follow the cassette, if they follow what I ask them to do, and if they do their research, the chances are. And can I give the address on that?
Is there a phone number?
Yes, it's 888
Right.
295-2787.
What do they ask for?
And, they'll answer the phone. This is Artist First. They ask for the Robert W. Morgan Ultimate Adventure, Bigfoot, the Ultimate Adventure.
All right, how much is it?
Hell, I don't know what they're charging now right now. I have no idea. I think it's $10, I believe it is.
All of $10. All right.
Yeah.
1-888-295-2787.
Right, and they can go to the website directly, artistfirst.com. One word, artistfirst.com.
Okay.
And it's quite an adventure. It really is.
All right. I've got a lot of people who would like to talk to you.
Okay.
So let's rock.
I'm ready.
First-time caller line, you're on the air with Robert W. Morgan. Hi.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Where are you?
Lansing, Michigan.
Okay, fire away.
I was calling to ask him, I know that Bugs mentioned that when he first spotted the Bigfoot, that they had bright, deep red eyes.
That's right.
If they were human-like, wouldn't the eyes not be reflective?
Probably they would not be, but at the same time, I wanted to ask him what the color eyes of human beings are when you hit them directly in the eyes. Have you ever seen photographs taken, and what do you get out of a human eye?
It's kind of, every once in a while, you get like either blue or greenish color.
Or you might get a red dot also. It's according to the frequency of the light that you're using. I'm pretty sure that's what the situation
Well,
is.
he was using halogen.
Exactly.
He said they were using halogen.
Yes, he does.
It was like 50-watt halogen lights.
No, 500.
500, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right. That's what he said, 500.
So any idea, Robert, what a 500-watt halogen pointed at a human would produce?
No, I don't. I can find out pretty quickly, but the ones I'm using are nearly, my God, they're 50,000 candle power. The ones I use. So, but I have seen.
Well, you got to remember that was in the 1970s, though.
Well, that's true. I have seen my members of my own party turn around and look toward me at certain angles, and I've seen a pink glimpse. So I'm not sure what to answer on that one.
All right. Wildcard line, you're on the air with Robert W. Morgan. Hello.
Hi, Art. What I started to say before was that probably just assume that they're already moving on you with warrants and just burn the thing now, because you're going to get it again later. Ultimately, one last time, you're going to get a piece of mail from him through his lawyers, and if Bugs doesn't